A very good morning to all of our viewers from Israel. We are quite literally at ground zero reporting from the war zone. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Before we head out into the field near the Gaza border, where a ground assault by Israeli troops of Gaza and into Gaza is now imminent. In fact, I've been hearing the sound of Israeli Air Force's fighter jets literally through the night and all morning. We wanted to give you a sense of the five top developments that have taken place actually in the last few hours. All of these developments have global geopolitical ambitions. So let's start with the first big development. The US President Joe Biden will be arriving in Tel Aviv on Wednesday. The American president has said that this is to express solidarity with Israel. Remember, America has stood firmly with the Netanyahu government, with Israel's right to retaliate. But at the same time, after the tragic stabbing of a 6-year-old Palestinian child in Illinois, the American president is also warning against Islamophobia, and he is also urging mechanisms to develop a humanitarian corridor so that hundreds of thousands of Gazans who have nothing to do with the Hamas are able to get an exit. So far, American negotiations with Egypt to allow this exodus to take place into Egypt have not worked. Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State's meetings with Saudi Arabia have not worked either. But Joe Biden will be traveling to Jordan right after his visit to Tel Aviv to try and bring sort of the focus back on the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in Gaza, even as he stands in solidarity with Israel's right to retaliate against the Hamas after the horrific terror attack. Meanwhile, there have been other big developments. The IDF, Israel Security Forces, have announced that they have struck targets that they say are targets of the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Remember, in the last 24 hours, Israel and its military have evacuated 28 communities along the border in Lebanon. Now, what's very important is one of the reasons that perhaps Israel is calibrating and going slowly and pacing itself for its ground incursion into Gaza in the south is the concern that another war front could open in the north because of the Hezbollah engaging the Israeli military. So those strikes on what the IDF is claiming are Hezbollah targets in Lebanon is another front opening in the north. And we have to wait and see carefully if this now develops into a two-front conflict, a full-blown two-front conflict. As this happens, Iran, which has backed Hamas, one of two countries in the world that has actually backed Hamas, the other one being Qatar, Iran is actually warned of a preemptive response if the Israelis enter Gaza. Now, the Israeli army is going to do that. It has declared that it's going to do that. It has, in fact, contentiously put a 24-hour deadline for hundreds of thousands of Gazans to relocate. That deadline has, of course, come and gone. And so far, we have not seen that ground invasion take place. But Iran is warning of a preemptive strike if that happens. Meanwhile, there is a very disturbing video. We're not going to show it to you at the moment with sound up. This is being released by the IDF, the Israeli military, that actually shows one of the Hamas terrorists who entered on a motorcycle, literally on a killing spree, as he travels around in one of the kibbutzes, goes around the homes and opens fire indiscriminately, entering southern Israel on a motorcycle, holding his weapons up as it were to the sky. This is one of many disturbing and horrific details that Israel has released in the last few hours. In fact, I happened to attend a meeting that had been called by Israel's National Forensic Laboratory, where Israeli doctors broke down as they shared images of the condition in which they found bodies, many of them charred, had been tied together, bodies had to be separated, and talking of the dismal condition in which these bodies were found. The doctors were crying, and Israel has in the last 24 hours been releasing a lot of horrific details that they argue point to, quote unquote, the barbarism of the Hamas killers. The The Hamas, meanwhile, that's our fourth development. The Hamas, meanwhile, and if we can move to those pictures now, has released the first video of a captive, an Israeli captive, a young woman. And in fact, the Hamas is clearly trying to use these videos as part of its propaganda war, as part of PSYOP, psychological warfare, making these captives speak on camera, arguing that, look, we're looking after them very well. We're even giving them medical attention. This is a very, very young woman whose video has been released. And the Hamas earlier had warned of executions of captives if the Israelis entered Gaza. But at the moment, they're going another route with their propaganda war. They have, in fact, blamed the killing of 22 captives. That's the number being released by Hamas. We have no official or independent corroboration of this number. They are blaming the killing of those 22 hostages on aerial bombing by Israel. Talking about aerial bombing, as I said, early morning, the wee hours of the morning, Israeli fighter jets have been hovering in the skies above us. There is clearly a lot of aerial bombardment that is planned in the next few hours. Israel's Air Force has been pounding Gaza, and there are mounting concerns of a humanitarian catastrophe that could unfold. But before we come to that, addressing this debate around the humanitarian crisis that is looming large in Gaza, the IDF actually said that it is the Hamas that is stealing water and fuel from UN supplies. They said that the United Nations had said as much. The United Nations, a UN agency, did tweet this, but then later deleted the tweet. But listen to what the IDF has to say on this allegation that Hamas is stealing supplies from UN agencies.
Today, the United Nations revealed the true face of Hamas when they confirmed that Hamas stole fuel and medical equipment from UN offices in Gaza City. The amount of fuel stolen is enough to power Gaza's water desalination for 6 days. I repeat, for 6 days. Hamas is holding the people of Gaza hostage, cowardly, using them as human shields. Hamas is at war against humanity, not just Israel. They terrorize Jews and Arabs. They seek deaths of Israelis and Palestinians. The Israel Defense Forces will destroy Hamas for the sake of Israel, Gaza, and the entire world.
Strong words there from the IDF, but the UN agencies that did tweet that later deleted the tweet. So we do not have an independent statement of this allegation from the United Nations or its agencies. Meanwhile, UN agencies are warning that body bags could run out. There are not enough body bags for the dead in Gaza. If we can switch to the images now of what's happening in Gaza, well, no, these are still images from within Israel. Those are images of hostages in captivity. Those are images you see of the bombing. But in Gaza, and we'll show you those images in a moment, in Gaza, there are concerns mounting of human suffering. And as I said, there is a serious concern being expressed by international agencies that there are not enough body bags to basically carry the dead to funerals. Doctors, meanwhile, are refusing to vacate some of the last standing medical facilities, and they chose to sound their ambulance sirens as a mark of their protest and their insistence on staying there. Let's take a look at this clip. Those are doctors refusing to leave the Gaza Strip and sounding those sirens as a mark of protest. So on the one hand, you have a determined Israel military. The Israel military bombing Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. On the other hand, you have the world expressing mounting and deep concerns about that humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the Hamas releasing videos of hostages, and it is going to be a grim 24 hours as the American president touches down in Tel Aviv on Wednesday. Here from the ground, we will have all the very latest from you from both the north and the southern borders, where the actual military operation and conflicts are unfolding. Thank you for watching. Take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.